Namaste. So many of you know, if you're at all connected to the news, you know this. Today is International Yoga Day, and a resolution made by the UN as the result of the Prime Minister's efforts. And it's really taken the world by storm in many ways. And there's a lot going on around the world. Today's subject is yoga in modern times. And in order to understand our view of yoga in modern times, we have to consult Swami Kriyananda. So let's see what Swamiji has to say about it.
Swamiji, on the spiritual path, how important is physical health, good physical health?
Well, it's certainly our duty to keep our health sound, because when you've got a healthy body, your mind can be clear, it's easier to meditate. It's also a fact that many saints have had to go through lots of ill health. It doesn't prevent them from finding God. It's just a test that they have to go through. But at least our part of it should be to at least do our duty by our body, not to make a god of it, not to do everything that you can to make your body well. I met a cynic in India just a few weeks ago, and I was staggered. After all, I'm 86, and I'm not altogether firm on my pins. And he looked at me contemptuously. He said, "But you're a yogi." Well, okay, but I'm just not going to waste my energy thinking about this body when I have to dump it anyway. I'd rather think about God. And so I think that we should do our duty by our body and then forget it.
Throw the dog a bone, as Sri Yukteswar said.
Yes.
Did Yogananda speak about health? Did he give...
He did a great deal. He emphasized that we are a threefold being, body, mind, and soul. And we need to develop all three. And so he emphasized energization exercises, for example, to keep the body fit. He recommended that people do the yoga postures. And in fact, he had me demonstrate the yoga postures in front of guests when he had them. It was interesting because what happened was I've always been a bit one-sided. I have not, I admit it freely, not given enough energy to my body. But I couldn't do them very well. But one time he had Swami Premananda come from Washington, and in his presence he had us demonstrate the yoga postures. And suddenly in his presence I found I could do them all perfectly. And from then on, in fact, I was the one selected to demonstrate them, and really a bit of a fraud because... and he had me also demonstrate them for guests and so on. And years later, when I was teaching yoga, I realized that people would be wanting both sides. And so I taught the yoga postures, but I wasn't satisfied with just the physical aspect. And so I developed a system which we now call Ananda Yoga, using the yoga postures and having affirmations with them to show how different physical positions help to awaken and develop certain attitudes mentally too. For example, a straight spine is going to make you much more likely to be vigorous and positive than a bent spine. When I see that a picture of that statue of Rodin's, of the thinker, I think the man must have a bellyache. He's not thinking. You don't think in that position. And so, unless it's about your belly. And so the thing is that he did give emphasis to it, perhaps more than I do. And I have to say that that's his teaching. It's been a little weaker on my side.
But Swami, was that a teaching more oriented to a general public or something?
No, he just emphasized it, period.
So with you disciples, he would speak of it also? Did he guide you more specifically in terms of...
Less so. He was talking about... But I remember one time I didn't eat supper because I wanted to have a free stomach to meditate. And one time I was at his retreat, and I didn't eat. And he said, "You didn't eat supper today." And I said, "No, sir." He said, "You should." I said, "Well, I'd like to meditate, and I like to meditate on an empty stomach." He said, "But it's all right now, you're young, but as you get older, if you don't have your 3 meals a day, at least a little bit of salad, little protein," he said, "your body will suffer. It'll be harder to meditate." So he was quite serious. I tried to jolly him out of that. He was quite serious with me and didn't budge an inch. So he did emphasize both sides.
Swami, do you think he was speaking specifically to you? Or
I
was
do.
But
I do, but whether it was talking to others, I don't know.
Yogananda was a very good cook, and
Yes. So am I a pretty good cook. Yes, he was a good cook, but that was the least of his accomplishments.
but he talked a lot about nutrition also.
He did. He did. However, in the lessons, the sections on diet and so on, most of those are taken from a book, not from him.
from you mean
A book.
some other
Yes.
teacher? Or
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. He didn't go into it to that extent.
Swamiji, what would Yogananda do if someone were diagnosed with a serious disease? What would he say about their
You
consciousness?
can't predict what he would do. You just can't predict. He was different every time. I never saw him look the same. I had to look at a photograph to remember what he looked like, because he was always reflecting the situation at hand. So what would he do? I simply can't say. But he would urge people to be healthy and try to do the right things. And he would tell people to go to doctors. He wanted to follow what was accepted in society. But I think he knew perfectly well that someday people are going to look at medical science as they look on witch doctors today. They don't know everything about the body. However, I have to admit, also in my case, that without medical science, which I don't believe in, I would have been dead long ago. So I have to give it its due, and he gave it its due. I remember one time somebody was suffering from something or other, and the doctor came and he healed him, and Yogananda laughed. He said, "Doctors claim the credit when God heals." And he loved that expression. The operation was a success, but the patient died on the operating table.
What about, what can we do if we have a disease? Can we fight the consciousness of that
He said,
disease?
"Don't be fanatical. Yes, you have to fight the consciousness. Never accept the thought, 'I am ill.' Just say, 'This body is ill.' Never accept that this body is tired, that you are tired. Say, 'This body is tired.' Never accept that you have sinned. Say, 'This body has sinned. This mind has sinned. I am not a sinner. I have made a mistake, that's all.' Always affirm your inner perfection as a child of God, and finally you will come out of that. So how much you need to depend on the doctors, that depends on you. Some people he would say to do certain things and they'd get out of it. Other people he'd tell them go to the doctor and so on. But it depended on the individual case.
Did he work with affirmations?
He had scientific affirmations, scientific healing affirmations, and he very strongly talked about that. You can think yourself into wellness, and I've found that to be true many times. Sometimes I find a cold coming on, and I say, "I haven't time for this. Get out!" And it humbly gets out. So you don't have to be ill. Sometimes illness is sort of a luxury that you allow yourself. But I know I was in the ICU unit in Pune in India recently, the intensive care unit, and they had all sorts of wires and different things. They did a whole dialysis with me, and nurses and doctors would come in and say, "Well, how are you?" with this great concern in their voice. I say, "Just wonderful." I was feeling bliss. It didn't matter to me what they did. So if they have to do something to your body, I know Vera Brown, Sister Mira, she had lots of trouble. And they had to cut out one piece after another of her body. And one time under anesthesia, she was saying, "Take it away, piece by piece. I don't care. Take it away." So just don't identify yourself with your body.
Did Yogananda have affirmations for psychological healing as well?
Also for psychological healing. And he never would let people say, he said, "I suffer when I see you have moods, because then I see Satan has a hold of you." Don't let moods come. Change your level of consciousness. Your moods just depend on where your level of consciousness is. Put your mind very strongly here, the mood will disappear. And when you feel depressed, when you may have to go to a psychiatrist, you may have to go through all that, but try to do it yourself. I remember one time him saying, "And just when I get a little bit out of things, I find people going to doctors again." But he was lamenting that. He didn't approve of it. He believed that we should, with our mental power, make ourselves well. And I found that was true.
Swami, does it strike you that people were healthier at that time in the 40s and 50s than they are now?
I think so. I've had nothing but trouble with my body. I've had to have my heart operated on, my hips operated on. But I take that as karma and just working on karma. I don't think I could have changed that. When I was walking, you'd see me walk. They had to replace 2 inches of bone in my thigh when they operated on my hips. But I don't think that was a mental thing. I think it was just karma. It's very intricate and very intertwined. I don't know all the answers.
But it's safe to say that if we feel that everything is coming from God and keep our mind focused
That's how I
there.
did it. So I never accepted that I had this pain, and I don't accept it now.
What role does diet have to play in health?
We should give up, one thing we should give up is eating meat. They're beginning to find that meat eating is one of the main causes for people dying young. Pink slime, awful. But it's becoming more and more in the headlines now, that hamburger and any meat that has any red meat, pigs and cows and veal, don't eat them. They're bad for you. Master said he went into slaughterhouses and saw them scoop the cancers out of cows before they sold that meat. It is the cause of much cancer. But fish and chicken and lamb, not so bad. But if you can give up meat eating altogether, all the better. I know that now anybody living in our communities, I'm sure they all would think of meat eating as something repulsive. Why do you want to eat meat? There's something wrong with it. Vegetables, yes, you have to kill vegetables even to eat them, but it's almost, I think, their spiritual offering to be eaten in order to help life. So I think this is good. A tiger doesn't commit sin, though, in killing. That's its nature. It's not our nature.
In January 1945, Paramhansa Yogananda was putting the final touches on his latest revision of his spiritual classic, Autobiography of a Yogi. He was at his seaside hermitage in Encinitas, California. Dr. Lewis, his first American disciple, was with him. Here's an excerpt from chapter 48 of the 1946 edition of Autobiography of a Yogi, read by Swami Kriyananda.
Yes, Doctor, a project I have long considered is beginning to take definite form. In these beautiful surroundings, I have started a miniature world colony. Brotherhood is an ideal better understood by example than precept. A small, harmonious group here may inspire other ideal communities over the earth. A splendid idea, sir. The colony will surely be a success if everyone sincerely does his best. Far into the night, my dear friend, the first Kriya Yogi in America, discussed with me the need for world colonies founded on a spiritual basis. The ills attributed to an anthropomorphic abstraction called society may be laid more realistically at the door of every man. Utopia must spring in the private bosom before it can flower in civic virtue. Man is a soul, not an institution. His inner reforms alone can lend permanence to outer ones. By stress on spiritual values, self-realization, a colony exemplifying world brotherhood is empowered to send inspiring vibrations far beyond its locale.
During Yogananda's lifetime, the world was not yet ready for his dream of world brotherhood colonies. The first such colony, founded by the Master in Encinitas, did not take hold. On July 4th, 1969, Swami Kriyananda, a direct disciple of the Great Master, purchased the land for Paramhansa Yogananda's second World Brotherhood colony. The place was Ananda Village in Nevada City, California. Since he was 15 years old, Swami Kriyananda had dreamed of starting small cooperative communities and was thrilled to learn that this new form of living was central to his guru's mission. This time, the idea took hold. On July 4th, 2009, we celebrate the 40th anniversary of the World Brotherhood Colonies movement. In these ensuing 40 years, this experiment has proven itself to be successful on all levels imaginable. Swami Kriyananda, along with a small harmonious group, and the continuing guidance of our great guru, Paramhansa Yogananda, has ensured a blueprint for the future. In fact, Yogananda described World Brotherhood colonies as the social pattern of the future.
Well, I must say that I don't know what Ananda is still, but I've been meeting people here. One of them is Virani, the goat lady. I think everybody remembers her. And I remember, I must tell you, when I first saw the movie Finding Happiness, I said, wow, well acted. And I mentioned it, and I said, he's done a great job of acting. And that's when I was told, no, he wasn't acting. He's real. I know now why the movie succeeded. Because nobody was acting. And it's very difficult not to act and yet act. And it's very difficult to be natural in front of even a still camera and yet convey what you want to convey. And I think that is really what the movie reached out to me with and said, these are real people, this is a real place. What I want to say is, for me, work has always been sacred. When I write, I feel I'm doing somebody else's job for them. That I am communicating because I have been asked to be the communicator. And I see that in all of you. And I feel, yes, there is a sense of belonging. What I would really want you to do is that in India, we are forgetting these things. And it will be wonderful if you can come back and bring those coals to Newcastle. Because we are getting material. We are going where America was maybe 2 decades ago. We are grab. And I think you can help, at least through the movie or through your communities, to change, to bring organization, to bring love. And all the best. Thank you.
My name is Narayani Ganesh, and we haven't seen a single frown on any face. And everyone does their work so willingly, so pleasantly. Everywhere there's a feeling of love, calm, patience, and it's unbelievable, really. It's idyllic. I got a chance to interact with all of you face to face and actually experience the place. That's what is making it a really valuable, enriching experience. And I'm really honored that you chose the two of us to be here and share your space with us, which I think is a very sacred, beautiful place. And I love all of you. And I'm very grateful for all the love I'm receiving from all of you. And thank you so much for having us here.
What is the nature of joy?
The nature of joy is to give.
To have fun.
The nature of joy is to expand.
The nature of joy is to share.
To share.
The nature of joy is to share.
Sharing the heart of Yogananda. Yogananda shared revolutionary yogic teachings for the practical Western mind through one of the best-selling spiritual classics of our time, The Autobiography of a Yogi. Yogananda predicted that self-realization would someday be the religion of the world. Self-realization is a state of consciousness, a purpose, a state of being. We're doing what we've always been doing, but with new and better ways to serve you. Sharing Yogananda as one, working together in a new way with new approaches to programs on happiness, Kriya meditation, success, relationships, and wellness. How to live a yogic lifestyle, how to bring more light to your home, family, community, world. Yogananda, through the autobiography, paved the way. Swami Kriyananda, his direct disciple, showed us how to live a happy, fulfilling, yogic lifestyle for more than 40 years. And now it's up to us to share the light from within and share that joy with all. When we feel joy, we open our hearts. When we open our hearts, our minds open to all that is possible.
So we started that with Swamiji talking about health and yoga, and in many ways a view that we're used to. It's not foreign for people to think of yoga as something that helps you to live a more healthy lifestyle. And we probably would anticipate that most practitioners of yoga are they practice hatha yoga. They practice postures for health, and they take on various attitudes in their relationship to hatha yoga for health and life improvement within the framework of what they're used to, within the framework of quote-unquote living a healthy lifestyle in modern society. It's estimated in America that there are 20 million practitioners of hatha yoga. That's a lot. So maybe the materialistic country isn't only materialistic. But when our Indian friends came to visit the village, and they experienced life at Ananda village, they both communicated very well that there was something extraordinary going on in that environment, something that was inspiring, something that was uplifting, a potential that they had not seen in their daily lives, in their daily community. And then we heard Yogananda's inspiration of World Brotherhood colonies. We understood that there is a vision about a way to live. Actually, I did it in reverse. So Yogananda talked about World Brotherhood colonies as a solution, as a way to increase your inspiration to experience joy in this life, in this place, in these times. And then at the end there's this this piece that expresses the outreach, the current state of bringing Yogananda's understanding and inspirations to the world. What is happening today in its most modern form. And when I first heard that piece, and Devi, who was narrating it, she said, in a revolutionary. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Yoga's old. How can it be revolutionary today when it's from the past? But the thing that we don't fully realize is that yoga is not just something to do for an hour, 2 or 3 times a week. Yoga is a whole understanding about how life works from the inside out, and the basis from which we can live a more joyful life in union, in harmony with life's highest potentials, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And in order to do that, you have to be willing to step out of what you're used to. The society, the culture, the momentum of the life that we were given when we grew up, we have to revolt. It is revolutionary. We have to say, I am no longer willing to live that way. And when India claimed its freedom from the British, when America claimed its freedom from the British, they revolted. They revolted. They said, I will no longer live that old way. I choose a new way. Even though this new way is roots in ancient truth, it's being manifest in this moment, in this time. This is, we could say, modern times. What does yoga look like in modern times? It looks like Ananda in various forms. When we talk about, when Master predicted that the path of self-realization would be the religion of the future, he didn't mean that it would be the Ananda path of self-realization everywhere. He said communion with God would be that, having the techniques to commune with God and to bring the inspiration of that communion into the highest manifestation possible. This is the truth that the world, not only the way that we will solve as many of the outward problems that can be solved, because it's a mistake. Many people think, well, I will seek God when the world becomes perfect. I hate to disappoint you, but it's not going to happen in your lifetime. And the chances are, history tells us that it's never going to happen. Outward life is in this creation is never 100% harmony all of the time, and nor should it be. Because we have to remember that in order to unify our consciousness with the infinite, we have to revolt from ego consciousness. We have to be challenged in that. We have to fight the fight, as we talk in the Bhagavad Gita. That inner battle of Kurukshetra, where we have to fight against our tendency to live and believe that reality takes place through the senses and the personality, when in fact reality takes place truly inside. Life is a spiritual truth. It's a unified, infinite consciousness of bliss, and that is our potential. And the Ananda way of life represents bringing that inner bliss, deepening it in our consciousness, and then bringing it into everyday life. And when you see these pictures at Ananda, you see, you can't say that nobody ever has a frown. But think about the life that as you experience it when you go to work, when you go into the marketplace. How many people are genuinely happy? You can't even find 1%. At Ananda, you'll find 90%. And 8% and 2%, yeah, they're having a bad day. But they know what to do about it. As Swamiji said, you put your consciousness here. It works, it's scientific. It's a mechanism that will work if we apply ourselves to it, and if we create an environment that supports that application, we are making it as easy as it could possibly be. It's not easy, but why make it more difficult by living with people who aren't interested? People who are agitated and angry and selfish and materialistic. Why not live with people who are seeking to be happy, inwardly connected, humble, serviceful? People who genuinely will care about each other. This is the potential of yoga in modern times. We live in the most fantastic time in history. I know that might sound crazy because there's terrible things going on in the world, but we don't have to define those things as the way that we live. And when you see the lifestyle, when you see the movie Finding Happiness, we've been living like that for 45 years now. And yeah, we have bad days, the community burned down. But if you'd seen the people, yeah, there was a few tears. But the percentages were that we had a few tears and a whole lot of fun. A whole lot of joy. Instead of a whole lot of tears and zero joy. Just negative, angry, and this is a choice that we can make, and we are being asked here in India today to do what she asked us to do, to manifest this in modern times in India. This is what we are doing. We've been doing it, but we want to do it more. We want to do it more and more and more, and we're going to push. My job is to push, to say, let's have more joy, let's have more spiritual family, which means community. And we're working on it, we're actively pursuing this, but don't be passive in your consciousness. Don't be thinking, well, when it comes around, when they actually do something, then I will see if I'm interested or not. Be a part of the creation. You are being asked to make history. You say, well, you read in the books of history and say, well, how did those people end up being involved in that? Most of the time they found themselves in that place, in an opportunity to make a difference, and they chose, will I make a difference or will I let somebody else make a difference? Will I consciously act? Will I stand up for the vision that has been presented to us? This is what we're being asked to do, to bring this world brotherhood, colony, spiritual community concept into manifestation right here, right now. This is the state of yoga for us. It's the inner connection to spirit, but it's the challenge to bring that into daily life to the point where our whole inner universe changes. When it's like joining the army. You join the army, you become a soldier. And that soldier uniform and label gives you a definition. When we join the Ananda family, our definition becomes universal bliss. And our uniform becomes manifesting that consciousness as successfully as we can in every life experience. And the most powerful way, as we know, Yoganandaji taught, Environment is stronger than will. If you want to make it easy as it can be, create an environment that supports what you want to do. This is a truth no matter what you're doing. If you want to be a good musician, go to an environment that supports being a good musician. If you want to be an architect, spend time with architects, the best. If you want to be a doctor, spend time with the best doctors. But if you want to be a devotee, then spend time with devotees. And there's no devotees that are better to spend time with than those that are on the path that you follow. If a person follows another path, fine. Create community within that group. It's not a competition, but it is an opportunity to recognize that if we want to maximize our efforts in this lifetime to know God, then we want to act as channels for God to bring inspiration and light into the world, but we also want to create an environment that supports our efforts. It's good for us, it's good for the world. And this is when we live in Dharma, when we live in superconscious attunement to life, then we find that our actions are the best actions that we can take. They're good for us, they're good for those that we are interacting with. And this we've seen year after year in Ananda, the Ananda communities, that people's lives become powerfully transformed when they finally realize that you can live in Ananda. You don't have to go to Swar. You can live in an Ananda consciousness on this planet at this time, if we choose it. So when we think about yoga in modern times, we have to realize that it's not just individual practices, but it's bringing those practices into every aspect of daily life. This is what we've been given. The blessing that we've been given is that it's possible to do this, and that we've been given the blessing of manifesting it as with the energy, the enthusiasm, the inspiration, and the blessings of the masters. This is an incredibly powerful force. So when we align ourselves with that blessing, then we are activating a spiritual potential that we just simply can't yet imagine. But it is our greatest hope, our greatest opportunity for self-realization in this lifetime.